Assalamu alaikum to every listener. This is Junaid. Today we will talk about educational crisis in Pakistan. As Mandela quoted, education is the most powerful weapon so you can change the world. It is true that education is the most powerful weapon, but unfortunately its opposite is also true. Now let's have a look on Pakistan's educational crisis. Pakistan is one of the developing countries of the world. But there is not so good investment on education at all. In the world, when we look at the other developing or developed countries, they have hugely invested in the sector of education. In the Department of Education, they have hugely invested in universities, colleges, high schools. But when we look in our country, there's no such pretty good investment. But that's not just factor to justify the educational crisis of Pakistan. There are so many other factors which matters the crisis of education in Pakistan, or the educational crisis in Pakistan. Like, there are schools in some rural areas of Pakistan, but there are no teachers there to teach. Those empty buildings has become ghost buildings, or the elite class of those rural areas make their guest rooms there, and there is no one to monitor them, there is no one to regulate them, there is no one to punish them. The teachers are taking huge amount of salaries without even teaching. In primary schools and middle schools and high schools, there is no system to monitor the teachers, that what are their qualifications, how capable they are to teach. But that's not only government or the teachers which are the responsible who are the responsible for educational crisis. We are also the responsible for these crises. Like, there are so many parents which are not willing to teach, to educate their children. There are many reasons, but the major reasons are who will earn money, who will run the house after me. He or she should be on work to earn some amount to run the house. There are no social sense of responsibility in parents and teachers and government, and no one. And when someone try to bring change, those are waved off. Those people are cut it off. And with no education, we are saying that we will be great nation. No, we can't. We can never be. Yes, we can make the nuclear bombs, we can build a huge army, but for running that army, for launching that bombs, for controlling that bombs, that weapons, we need more powerful weapon than these things, which is education. Literacy is not actual education. Yes, people can be literate, but literate people are not actual educated people. Education is something which makes man actually human being. A man can have the sense of responsibility through education, can have the sense of acquiring their basic necessities, can have sense for fight for their rights and for others' rights also. When we see in the history, whenever the big nations are collapsed, the major reason behind their collapse is just the lack of education. We cannot survive without education. No one can survive in this world without education, and if we can, then that life is worse than death. If we want our country, our nation to be great, we have to work greatly on education, on field of education. When Arabs came in power, they translate the Greek education in their own language, and they became, the world knows, the history knows, they became powerful nation. And Arab only collapsed when they forget the importance of education. They forget the value of education. And after Arabs, the Europeans, the Britishers understand the importance of education. They start translating Arab education in their own language. And then everyone watched that how British ruled the world. And even today, Europe, USA are the ruling class, are the ruling nations of the world. What is the major reason? Just education, nothing else. Science, is education. Technology is education. Philosophy is education. At last, I just want to say that unless we will not work on education, we cannot be powerful nation. We will be diminished. We will be collapsed. We will be finished like we were never before. Thank you very much.